Hi everyone, my name is Abby, and this is my Gold Award project for Girl Scouts called It Can Happen to Anyone. It's about mental health awareness, especially in teenagers, but anybody can obviously learn. And it's true, it can happen to anybody. So that's why I decided to teach people about mental health awareness. So my first question is, what is mental health? Well, mental health is how stable one's psychological, emotional, and social states are. Just like someone can be physically sick, they can also be sick mentally. Anyone can be affected. Well, when you get a cold, you usually feel sad, like depressed. So, yes, they go together. When your mind's not happy, your body's not happy. When your body's not happy, your mind's not happy. And there are many people who are born with certain mental disorders and illnesses that are not curable. Other people just have mental illnesses temporarily and can be curable, just like medical health. So, here are some important mental health facts. About 1 in 5 Americans have or had a mental illness. Mental illness can be caused by genetic factors or environmental factors. An estimated 1 in 6 people experienced a common mental disorder like depression or anxiety in the past week. So to be diagnosed with anxiety or depression, you need to have it for at least 2 weeks or more. But you can experience like certain symptoms of it, and a lot of people have these symptoms. Like almost everybody has these symptoms once in a while. So here's a few mental disorders. These ones are specifically ones that you can be born with and are genetic. So the first one is ADHD/ADD. So ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and ADD stands for Attention Deficit Disorder. So people with ADHD will have inattention, they will have trouble being organized, they will daydream very easily, they will have a hard time focusing, they will have hyperactivity, the need to move around a lot, it's hard to sit still for them, they need to get their energy out. Impulsivity, they have trouble thinking before they act, and they just want to do and get what they want. So OCD stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. So when many people think of OCD, they think of people who like to be clean. But that's not necessarily what OCD is. OCD is actually anything that you can be obsessed about. Or it's usually people who have certain rituals and revolve around certain numbers. So for example, in this picture on the screen, there is a man washing his hands and the tally marks come in 5. So let's say he has to wash his hands 5 times every single time he needs to wash his hands. If he doesn't do this, he thinks something bad is going to happen to his mother. And if he messes up, then he has to have another ritual just to make sure nothing bad happens to his mother. It's all about trying to control something in their life because it's an anxiety disorder and they feel very anxious if these things do not occur, and they will have intrusive thoughts, which we'll get to more later. So autism is fully known as autism spectrum disorder, is a disorder where people will have trouble with social interactions, maybe they'll have some learning disability with it, and they'll be more sensitive to any of their senses. Things will be brighter, things will be louder, tastes will be more prevalent, you'll feel things more. That's why people with autism, they might wear sunglasses in the winter, or they might not like the tags on their shirts because they feel it more than people who are neurotypical. Neurotypical means somebody who does not have a mental disorder. So proving stereotypes wrong. So a lot of the times when it comes to mental health, people will make stereotypes about different mental disorders. So let's get right into this. Stereotype number 1. ADHD is just something hyper little boys have. Well, this is not true because ADHD is not affected by the sex somebody is born as, and it is also not affected by your age. You have it throughout your entire life. Yes, the symptoms can lessen with medication and therapy, but you'll still have it throughout your entire life. Stereotype. People with OCD are just neat freaks. So, as we said before, OCD is an anxiety disorder that people suffer from. And if their rituals are not followed, then they believe that something bad is going to happen to themselves or a loved one. And while somebody who's considered a quote-unquote neat freak, they just like things tidied. Yes, it might give them anxiety, but it's not going to be to the point that they think it's going to hurt somebody. Now, there's a YouTube video there. I'm going to leave all the links to all the YouTube videos in the description down below, so you can look at them. And I also have some songs that I used in my complete presentation that I did live, in case anybody wants to listen to them. So, stereotype. People with mental disorders are just doing these things for attention. This is wrong because it's a disorder. It's like if somebody has cancer, you're not just going to say, oh, they have cancer for attention. No, you sound really rude, and that's exactly what it is when you tell somebody who has a mental illness that they're doing these things for attention. It is their illness, and instead of being rude about it, you can be nice and say, oh, here are some ways that I can be a friend and help you get through this. Stereotype. People with mental illnesses are more prone to violent behaviors. Well, actually, the percentage of violent crimes committed by people with a mental health issue is actually only 3% to 5%, which is extremely low. In fact, people who have a mental illness are actually usually the victims of a violent crime due to being seen as different. So, eating disorders. So, eating disorders are very common, actually, and anorexia nervosa is one of them. So, I just wanted to mention that all these eating disorders can be affected by anybody, as you see in the picture. Eating disorders affect 20 million women in the U.S. and 10 million men in the U.S. So, anorexia is when somebody gets so anxious about the way they look, even if they don't look the way they think they do, then they'll, not eat at all, over-exercise, and it can lead to a lot of problems like emaciation, digestive issues, malnutrition. They're not getting any nutrients. They can faint very easily. Bulimia nervosa is another eating disorder, but this time, people with this eating disorder will binge and purge. They'll eat tons of food at once, and then they'll quickly want to get rid of it, feeling bad about eating it. This can lead to problems such as cancer of the esophagus, acid reflux disorder. Again, it might lead to some malnutrition because you're not completely eating all your food, you're getting rid of it. It can lead to digestive issues if they take laxatives or use the vomiting method or over-exercising method. So how we can help people with anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa is we can teach people to love their bodies, and if they happen to want to change their bodies, there's healthy ways of doing it, the healthy ways of eating and the healthy ways of exercising. So binge eating disorder is actually the most common eating disorder in the United States. It's where people will eat tons of food at once in a short amount of time. So like a whole buffet in 10 minutes. But they do this due to an underlying mental illness. So another mental illness such as depression or anxiety. So how we can help people with binge eating disorder is to first help them with their other mental illness like depression or anxiety, and then after we help them with that, we can teach them the healthy ways of eating, exercising, so we can help them feel better. So addiction. So 1 in 7 people have a substance addiction, and that's usually what you think